Prelude to the historic Big Three meeting. End of the long voyage from America to Europe for President Truman as the cruiser Augusta docks at Antwerp. General Eisenhower comes aboard to greet the President. Today, the capitals of the entire world have listened to one of the most significant and decisive conferences in history to establish the basis for an enduring peace. Then at Brussels, Truman's plane takes off for a prescribed corridor to Berlin. In the German capital, the President sees for himself the ruins the Nazis brought upon themselves. Every bomb, street, and tottering structure is a reminder to the German people of their blindness in following a man who promised glory out of war, enslavement, and cruelty. No city in the world is more conscious of utter defeat than Berlin. On the way to Potsdam, the President inspects the famous 2nd Armored Division, the Hell on Wheels division that line the superhighway between Berlin and Potsdam. Then, in an impressive ceremony, the flag of the United States goes up, the identical flag that flew over Rome and
of our greatest adversary. Let's not forget that we are fighting for peace and for the welfare of mankind. There's not one piece of territory or one thing of a monetary nature that we want out of this war. We want peace and prosperity for the world as a whole. If we can put this tremendous machine of ours, which has made this victory possible, to work for peace, we can look forward to the greatest age in the history of mankind. That's what we propose to do.
And at Potsdam, the most powerful coalition in our time faces its greatest challenge. The representatives of 3 victorious nations, Stalin, Churchill, Truman. Out of their discussions, conflicts, and compromises must come a way to unity and peace, and to final victory over Japan. Shortly after these first meetings, significantly, authorization was made for the surrender ultimatum broadcast to Japan. Never before have 3 men borne so heavy a responsibility to build from a war-torn world a new cornerstone for mankind. Somewhere in the Atlantic, aboard the USS Augusta, as a naval convoy speeds President Truman and Secretary of State Burns to a momentous meeting near Berlin with Winston Churchill and Joseph Stalin, the 3rd meeting for heads of the big 3 powers, but the first for Harry Truman. Escorted by the cruiser Philadelphia, the Augusta steams toward Channel waters in which she wrote history on D-Day as flagship of the invasion fleet. The President wants to meet the officers of this gallant ship. They want to meet their new commander-in-chief, and it's a deal. With his old friend James F. Burns, Truman plans the proposals he'll present for America at the Big Three meeting. Now, nearing British waters, English escort ships join the American for the journey on to Antwerp and debarkation for Berlin. The Augusta's enlisted men come in for presidential company too, as Mr. Truman has messed with them, waiting on himself, cafeteria style. Then a little Big Three meeting, some sailors and the President of the United States, and Mr. Truman exchanges scuttlebutt with Seaman Stowell from Yonkers, New York. Throughout his 3,800-mile journey, the President grinds away at heavy work, preparing for mountainous problems to be discussed in the Berlin talks. Problems of war and peace and international unity. The presidential ship plows on as Truman ponders the fate of Europe and Japan. The Emperor's Palace at Potsdam, backdrop for the historic Big Three secret sessions, the veil on events behind military barriers is lifted. Meetings not of three men, but of three nations with common problems and responsibilities. Signal Corps and newsreel cameramen, including Paramount's Hugo Johnson, film intimate pictures of the key figures as Churchill departs with high praise from the new Big Three. To these men, history's debt is great. A three-way handshake features what well may be the last time the Premier, President, and ex-Prime Minister meet together. Now Clement R. ATTLEE takes over for Churchill. Outstanding results of the parleys, as announced by ATTLEE and his colleagues, are terms for Germany even more severe than the Versailles Treaty. A sharp reprimand for Franco's Spain, which is now barred from the United Nations, and a council of Big Five foreign ministers to write Europe's peace treaty. As Truman bids goodbye to ATTLEE and his new Foreign Secretary, Ernest Bevin, it is announced that Russia will gain additional reparations and equipment now in the British and United States zones of Germany. The Allies part with renewed assurance that all Axis war criminals will be brought to justice and that German militarism is forever ended. From the resolve